Surveillance and patrol are two of the functions that are handled by the nonspecific branch of the immune system. Surveillance is done on a regular basis because the lymphatic vessels that are located at every capillary bed in the body suck fluid from the interstitial space and bring it to the lymph nodes, which are packed full of lymphocytes. And those lymphocytes, if they detect something abnormal in the fluid that's coming from the tissue, can become activated and respond to that. Now, there's also something that's done by what we call natural killer cells. Natural killer cells are lymphocytes that are part of the nonspecific branch of the immune system. And their job is basically to check for IDs and to do a quick check of your luggage. Now, to understand this, first we have to know something about regular nucleated cells. So this is supposed to be an ordinary everyday cell. And on every cell of the body, except for special ones that we call antigen-presenting cells, there is a protein called MHC1, or Major Histocompatibility Complex 1. And it serves as an ID. So when the natural killer cell comes to check this cell, it's looking first of all to see if it has an MHC1. If it doesn't, then it's probably something like bacteria, which doesn't belong in the body, and the natural killer cell will kill it. No questions asked. Now, the MHC1s routinely dip into the inside of the cell and pick up antigens from the inside of the cell and then display them on the outside of the cell. So here you can see squares and triangles that are representing antigens that are normally found in the cell, and you can see that those squares and triangles are being displayed on the MHC1. When the natural killer cell sees this, it says, okay, you have the right ID, and that's something that I expect to find in the cell, so I'll leave you alone. But if the cell happens to be infected, like in this case with viruses, the MHC1 will also display some of the viral fragments, the viral antigens on it. And in this case, the natural killer cell will say, oh, you have the right ID, but that should not be in your luggage. Something's wrong with you, and it will kill the cell. Now, the way it does that is it secretes two things. The first is a complex of proteins that arrange themselves to form a large channel, and these are called perforins. If you've ever noticed in a checkbook, it's perforated. There are holes in the paper so that you can tear it more easily. So to perforate means to poke holes in. So the first thing it does is it pokes a hole in the cell, and then it secretes something called granzymes. Granzymes are enzymes which enter through the perforin channel, and then when they get inside, they're able to break down and digest everything inside the cell. They're trying to kill the cell, so those granzymes dissolve, disintegrate, destroy everything in the cell, and now the cell will begin to die. It doesn't explode. It just dies and kind of, they call it blebbing. It looks like lots of little bubbles in it. And this is called apoptosis, or programmed cell death. And this is important because we don't want this cell to rupture. We don't want to just go in and stab it and have all of those virus particles released into the bloodstream. So this way of killing a virally infected cell or a foreign cell, like a bacterial cell, is effective because it keeps all of the pathogen contained. And after the cell has died, a macrophage can come along and phagocytose this and get rid of or recycle all of the components of that cell that are useful.